So for my cultural society analysis presentation, I'm going to be focusing on French economy and government. The two type of leadership styles include transformational and situational. So after researching this country, I feel like France doesn't really follow the CQ model. It kind of does the opposite. So when I was researching about drive for the economy, France is the second largest economy in Europe, and it is the second most populated. The country is extremely diverse with leading industries that include tourism, manufacturing, and pharmaceuticals. However, the country does struggle with high unemployment rates. Just because the economy is large, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's good. And then moving on into knowledge on the CQ model, differences in values and norms affect the way the economy is developed. French people work to live, they don't live to work, so they don't come close to hours like the United States does. Like they don't work often, and it really affects their economy. Long lunch breaks are normal, and it reduces worker productivity. Next on the model is strategy. Plan ahead in unfamiliar cultural settings. So there is a need for laws, rules, and regulations to structure life. The French like to be prepared and not taken by surprise. Action is next. France has incorporated globalization into their nation. France's global world economy is finally paying off as it turns to performance since the 1960s. So they're increasing in jobs. So moving on to French government, drive is the first one on the model again. So drive illustrates motivation and interaction with other cultures through foreign aid, and it is very limited. France only aids two priority regions, which is Sub-Saharan African and the Mediterranean Basin. The 5 priority sectors include health, agriculture, and food security, sustainable development, education, and economic growth. Next, moving into knowledge, it affects how government interacts with individuals inside and outside the country. An example is the Yellow Vest protest all over the country of France. Is basically a protest over cost of living, economic inequality, fuel prices, and taxes, and this was inhibited in 2018. Next is strategy. On course to one of the worst recessions since World War II. So France is on course to one of the worst recessions since World War II, with coronavirus lockdown, stimulus package entered supporting growth only for big companies, basically saying they're only taking care of big companies and not the rest of the economy. So that's kind of a downfall as far as strategy. Finally, action, French. So there was an incident where where a French teacher was beheaded by a young Muslim who had shown caricatures of the Prophet Muhammad in class. France has gathered and conducted decisions of raids, shutting down Muslim groups, even closing down a major mosque. This is not the right way to appoint diversity and inclusion because France holds the largest number of Muslims within the Western world. So moving into leadership theories, defining French economy as transformational. Transformational theory is a process that changes and transforms individuals. French economy manages to motivate and influence their workers to be productive. Finally, French government is associated with situational leadership, which emphasizes an adapting style, condemning that different situations need different kinds of leadership. So an example of this is the French government is ran by a president and a prime minister, which is separating the power and jurisdiction. So basically, they believe if there's a problem, they think that there's different ways you can lead yourself out of the problem. Finally, in conclusion, I have learned a lot about French culture, especially in conclusion, I've learned French culture is very modern and diverse, although not ran. Oh my god. So in conclusion, I've learned French culture is very modern and In conclusion, I've learned French culture is very modern and diverse. Although it's not ran the same way as the United States, it's really interesting to see, their touch on their different leadership ideas and how it's operated different in other countries. So, yeah.